Hello and welcome to another video from Photo Train. I'm just going to share this few little tricks with you that I applied to this photograph here. Now, if you look at the picture, it's been took with a wide angle lens. We've got a bit of distortion there, which I don't particularly matter too much about that. I quite like the fact that you get that distortion in some cases. But in this case, if we look at the buildings in the background and the trees, they seem to be bellowing out a little bit. And using the basic approaches in Lightroom is not going to give me the effect that I want on there. If we start using the tools for the lens correction, and if you do a basic, obviously that's going to do nothing. So if we go down to the lens correction tools there, and we click on these, we can click on auto and see it's probably made it worse. So anything you do really is gonna make it much worse. So what I want to do is to get these buildings correct in the background, but keep the foreground the same as it is without distorting this shape anymore in the foreground. So we just want to correct this back part of the image. So first of all, I'm just going to make some adjustments to get the exposure I wanted. So I'm going to take the highlights down a bit, bring a bit back into the sky. I'm always checking the histogram. I'm not too bothered about that little clipping on the blacks there, it's not too much. I'm going to take the whites up slightly, and I'm going to bring the shadows up a little bit, and that's looking nice. That's getting rid of that shadow in the middle there and giving much more detail and brightness and colour to the image. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to send this to Photoshop. So we right click and we click Edit in Photoshop, and we just got to wait now, just whistle for a while while it loads up. So here we go. Okay, so now we have the image loaded up in Photoshop, and again, the first thing I do, if you've watched my videos before, the first thing I always do is to right click on the background layer and we duplicate the layer, and that just protects what we've got below there should we need to revert back. And then what we're going to do with this is, first of all, I'm going to make a selection, and I'm going to use the marquee tool, the rectangular marquee tool, making sure that on the settings I've got no feather on there. And I'm going to drag down to about this area, to about there. Okay, then what I'm going to do is to make another selection. What I want to do is to actually get a feather just on the bottom. Now you can't do that. If you apply a feather and you make a selection, it appears all the way around. So we're just going to add a selection onto here that's feathered. So I'm going to use a lasso tool for that, and you can see I've already got a feather set on there. If you look in the box of 20 pixels, and that's about what I want. So what I'm going to do, just on the bottom of this, I'm just going to draw outside here, very rough, just around this bottom edge, and you can see that's put a soft selection on there. Okay, and what we're going to do with that is to copy and paste that. So we go to Edit, Copy, and then straight to Edit, Paste. So if I just hide the other layers, you can see that soft selection we've got on the edge there. Okay, so we're making sure we're back on the top layer. What we're now going to do is to play around with this and to distort it, basically to get the correct perspective on these buildings, so they're not leaning over and everything looks nice and tickety-boo. Okay, so first of all we want the Move tool, and you can see, make sure that you've got, I don't want to auto select on, but I want to show the graphic handles, so the show transform controls, which are these handles that allow you to resize and whatever. Now what I'm going to do is to actually use the command key on the keyboard. So next to your spacebar, to the left of your spacebar, the command key. And I'm going to hold the command key down, and when I do that, can you see you get this little, I'll let go again, you get this little triangular shape there, and that will allow me then with that key down to drag and just correct that perspective a little bit, or try to. You can see now the trees are leaning a little bit. So going round, just going to get the best I can. I'm not too worried about that building. I'm going to get that building right. So I want to make sure the trees are okay. I'm going to bring this down slightly, make that larger, bring out this bottom and get those trees nicely in perspective. That's not too bad. Okay, not going to get much better than that, I don't think. I'll just bring this top out a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to press the enter key. Now we still have got a slight slope on the tower of the building there. The rest's looking good. And because we put that soft edge on there, it's very hard to detect we've actually done anything with the image. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to zoom in on this. I'm going to zoom out, right, make sure you're on the plus, and we zoom in to the building there. And what we're going to do with this is to use another lasso tool, but this time the polygonal lasso tool. And I'm going to click around the edge of the building, no feather. I'm going to be too particular. Can always put things right after. And I just basically want this tower area. So I'm going to come down to here. This part of the building isn't looking too bad. It's just the tower that I want to apply this to. Okay, so something like that. Okay, then what we do is we click on the move tool and we'll get these little handles around this selection. And I'm just going to drag, I'm going to hold down the command key again. And I'm just going to bring this out slightly to level that up. And then just click the tick on the options bar to commit the change. And we'll just remove the selection. But you can see you can hardly detect that we've played about with that. There's a little bit of error there, so we'll correct that. So we'll zoom in even more, and this really you're not going to see too much when you've applied that to the image. And at this stage I'm going to merge this down to the next layer. So I'm going to right click and merge down, because I'm happy with the rest of it. So I'm going to use the clone tool, and we can adjust the size with the keys, which you should know by now. To the left of the enter key or the return key on the keyboard, you've got the curly bracket keys, and by using those you can resize the brush. Let's get a bit closer to there, so I'm just going to click there. I'm just going to make sure the opacity is up higher. So we're just going to keep selecting different areas. So you hold down the Alt key to select an area and click once, and then you paint, and you can see from the cross it's cloning into the area where the brush is. And this is really zooming in close. I mean, when we view the whole image, you're really not going to see anything here too. There we go. and that's looking pretty good. So I'll just do this edge down there. I haven't done that brilliantly actually, so I'll just show you a better way of doing that in a moment. That looks okay, that's not too bad. But if you want to get a straight edge, so if I hold down the Alt key and click in this region, and then I click here, and I come down to this area, and I hold down the Shift key before I click again, that will draw a straight line, and that will give me a nice straight line down there, straight edge to the actual thing. So if we just double click the hand tool now, isn't that much better? Okay, we can take that off. There's your original image. Yeah, and you can see a big improvement. Now you could bring that tree back in. You've lost part of the tree there. So to do that, what we would do is to actually put a mask on this layer. So we click down here to apply a mask, and then we'll zoom in again to this area where the tree is. I just want to bring a bit back in. So what I do is I make sure I've got black selected on the foreground colour, make sure that we're on the mask, and then I'm just going to take the transparency down a little bit of this layer so I can see the layer underneath. And that will help me, although you won't see very well while I'm actually working, but that will help me see where the tree is here that I want to bring back. So I'm just going to bring in this area. So I'm just going to click, make sure the brush is up to 100%. There we go. And we're just going to paint over this area. And bring this part of the image back in. So it's looking at the layer below, and we're deleting the top part of the layer using a black brush. So where that tree is now is from the original layer. Okay, and we bring the opacity back up. So this is actually looking nicer. So I'm just going up to the tree there. Yeah, it's looking much better. There we go. Well, we've got it. And again, we're really zoomed in well there, so we're not going to see this when we look at the image in its full glory. There we go. So we have now got that from the original image that looked like that, and you can see how much we have improved the overall look of the image. And all I need to do now is to right click, flatten the image, and we have our completed image there. So a few little tricks on that for you to try out on your own images, especially useful for those shots that you take with a wide angle lens and getting that bit of distortion. But you can use it for other effects as well. You can, and using that feather on the background will merge the shot nicely in. You can't see any join on there. If I look down there, because it's very, very hard to tell. That I can't see anything actually. So it's done a really, really nice job and made a much better image. Okay.